Good evening and welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast. I'm hosting it tonight. Unfortunately, Craig has got a bit of a headache and the judge is sunning himself in Dubai, sipping on his half pint. So I'm sure he's watching. So if you are, how you doing, Judge? I'm not going to try with Craig's intro because that's Craig's thing and I'd never be able to do it justice. So I'm going to leave that to the professionals. Guest this evening, Graham, welcome back, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, mate. Had a good day out today with the missus, but still trying to come to terms with what happened yesterday, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I know the feeling. And also joining us is Woz. Woz, welcome back to the show, mate. How have you been?
Hello, mate. Yeah, within myself, I'm all right, but football-wise, I don't know. I'm a bit. Yeah, we'll talk about it. It'd be therapeutic. This.
That's right. It will. It will. It will. Guys, if you fancy a bet, don't forget to head over to FansBet and you can support the podcast. You can also support us via Patreon or by making a donation in the live chat box. Of course, you don't have to. It's not compulsory. We love doing this show and that's why we do it. But if you fancy supporting the podcast, you know what to do. You know the drill by now. So let's begin on yesterday's game. It was, for wanting of a better term, a bit of a disaster, to be honest. I'll get into my thoughts a little bit later on. But Graham, let's start with you. What was your overall assessment of the team, Unai Emery, the performance, all of it, basically?
Well, I think when we look back on it, we'll see it as a real opportunity missed, mate, because we've seen some bad first halves this season, but not with so much at stake as we had yesterday. Because had we won yesterday, I think we would have really sort of like been in a great position to sort of like move towards that top four position that obviously we're looking to do this season. I think when we look back on the game, we'll see that defensive errors cost us big time, and clearly sort of I think we're going to touch on the errors made by Mustafi in particular. But I think Unai Emery got his selection totally wrong yesterday, and his decision to go with a back three and two holding midfielders basically misfired badly. I think you can always tell what sort of Arsenal you're going to get by the way we start the game. We start the game with intensity. You know we're going to be at it. And if we start the game sort of like laid back, I think Mike McDonald said it perfectly in his column. When we start laid back, we're not at it. And I think the selection that he made yesterday, sent messages to the opposition and that basically we had the wrong selection yesterday. I think Palace came with a very clear game plan to win free kicks and try and overpower us at set pieces. And without Xhaka and Socrates in particular organising the defence, we were vulnerable yesterday. We suffered with too many Arsenal defenders, front-footed defenders making mistakes and sort of like, I think there's nothing wrong with being front-footed, I have to say that, but I think that has to be controlled. And the goals we conceded yesterday were all defensive errors. Mavropanos diving in, losing a challenge, and then pulling Benteke's shirt for the first goal, which led to the free kick, and then switching off at the free kick, looking for the offside. Mustafi just ball watching and allowing Benteke to run in unchallenged. I think we were trying to play offside, played on by Jenkinson. The second goal, well, absolutely unbelievable. Two players going for the same ball, the flick on, Koscielny not coming across, or certainly going forward, and then leaving Mustafi, who basically then just literally waved, for want of a better way of putting it, waved Zaha in, and then waved to Leno to come and get the ball when he had no chance to get it. And that was absolutely embarrassing, putting them back in front. And that was at a key time in the game because Emery switched it up at half time, went back from the 3-4-1-2, which wasn't working, to the formation that maybe he should have played, the back four from the start. And we got back in the game right at the start. Iwobi came on, made a difference straight away, played in Mesut with a delightful bit of play with Lacazette. Lacazette, a great pass into Mesut's stride, and he played that dink shot over the keeper that he played so well against Bournemouth to get us back at 1-1. And we were in the ascendancy then. And had Mustafi not made that mistake, I think we might have even gone on to win the game. But obviously it goes to 2-1. We're then chasing the game. Players' heads go. And then we give away a really bad third goal, also from a set play. Two players going for the same ball, a flick on with a header, then Mustafi not picking up, and another header from MacArthur making it 3-1. Although we pulled one back from Aubameyang late in the game, we was chasing the game, and in the end, we couldn't retrieve it. And this was a big opportunity missed. Give credit to Palace. They came with a game plan. We have to say in the first half, they could have been more than one ahead. Leno made 2 outstanding saves. But ultimately, I think had he got the team selection right yesterday, and I know Woz wants to touch on that midfield, which I think, to be honest, just doesn't work as a midfield pivot. Had he got the team selection right yesterday, I think we would have beaten Palace. But we give Emery credit when he gets it right. I think we should always give Emery criticism when he gets it wrong. And I think he got it wrong yesterday. Or having said that, I think the defensive errors cost us.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great points there, Graham. Just before we move on to Woz, massive thank you to Sam Abrahams for his donation, which is specifically for a cheeseburger for Graham. So there you go, Graham.
I'm trying to get off the cheeseburgers, mate. I tell
you won't go hungry this week, that's for sure. Woz your take on that, well, for wanting of a better term, shit show yesterday?
Yeah, it was like you said, I don't think to a man when we saw that lineup, I think everyone was sort of thinking the same thing there. And I just don't really understand his thought process and what he was trying to achieve. I mean, we say it's a free. Realistically, with Carl Jenkinson, it's not a free because he's not a winger. He doesn't get well enough into the final third. And our only attacking outlet was Kolasinac. Now, Kolasinac was up against one of the best one-on-one fullbacks in the Premier League this season in Wan-Bissaka. And he was being doubled up on. And Palace found it so easy to stifle our attacks. And with that midfield pairing, who I say pairing very, very loosely, they weren't a pairing at all. It was absolutely calamitous. And I'm sure we'll move on to that a bit later. But as a summary, I think they found it so easy to stop us from playing the way that sort of Emery was trying to play. And realistically, there was such a disconnect. Ozil was dropping deep. We've got 2 of the best strikers in the Premier League, isolated. Even with 2 up top, they were so isolated. We could not get the ball between them lines through into the final third. And really, the long diagonal to Kolasinac was the only thing on. And once it got there, he was snuffled out every time because Wan-Bissaka was very good. And they knew they had the game plan. And they sort of give us the freedom of that right-hand side, knowing that Jenko, for all his love for the club and everything, he's just not good enough. So it was a very negative selection, in my opinion, with the sort of, I call it a 5 at the back and 2 sort of deep line midfielders who have got 2 Arsenal goals between them in their entire career. So I just think at home, I understand the whole rotation thing and all that, but realistically, I think you start your strongest possible team and you get out of there and get in front and then you make your changes. But he put himself on the back foot. We had to make them 2 subs at half time, and then later on in the game, we got both centre forwards already on the pitch, and we got no one to really make the change. And we've only got 1 sub to do it. So, yeah, as soon as we were chasing the game, it sort of become, especially at 3-1, it becomes sort of a lost cause. And it's opportunity with the other sides losing. And that really was our chance at home to Palace to set the stall out and then go to Wolves midweek. And realistically, a win at Wolves probably would have near enough cemented us up there, barring a disaster. So, yeah, it's just the overriding feeling is frustration, but I'm sure we've got lots of little things to talk about as well. But yeah, just frustration, really, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Great summary. Thank you to Adam Bastable for his donation. Thanks very much, mate. It's much appreciated. Just to summarize my thoughts on the game, I agree with absolutely everything that you guys have said. I think for me, and I did tweet before the game and I said, I've said in recent weeks that I never want to see that midfield pairing. I didn't want to see it after the Everton game. I never wanted to see it again. I could have probably said that I didn't want to see it before that as well, but the Everton game kind of cemented it for me, made my mind up on it. And I kind of, leading into the game, I didn't want to be negative. I wanted to be positive, and I kind of got why he felt he needed to rotate. But rotation is a luxury that you have when you have a very deep squad and you have players fit. And at the moment, Arsenal don't have that. At the moment, in my opinion, Arsenal only have 3 central midfielders worth getting in the team. That's Aaron Ramsey, Granit Xhaka, Lucas Torreira. And if 2 of them are injured, you simply can't leave the third out. That's my opinion on that. I think, you can start him, see how it goes. You may be in control of the game. You may be able to take him off at a later stage. But for me, you've got to play for the points that are on the board now. You can't be looking ahead to games. You need to focus on the here and now. And it was really, really, really frustrating to see that. But, let's talk about Shkodran Mustafi. Graham, everybody's talking about him. People are not happy with his performance, and rightly so. Is Mustafi as bad as people say he is? I know he was a big problem yesterday, but he wasn't the only one, was he?
No, he wasn't the only one. But I think that I think his Arsenal career effectively ended yesterday. And I think that you get a feel for this in the stadium. The two things I had a feel for in the stadium yesterday was obviously every time Elneny got the ball, I don't know if Woz sensed it, but there was sort of like there was anxiety with the crowd because they just knew that it was going sideways or no incision in his passing. I think that Elneny's a player who basically he's all right in a three in a central midfield, but in a two, he clearly isn't incisive or progressive enough, and it doesn't work. And I think the crowd sensed that yesterday. But I think that Mustafi, there's long been criticism of his defending. There's always a mistake in him. His positional play isn't good. I think the thing about defending is that good defenders make defending look easy by the way they position themselves. Mustafi is always never in the right position and having to sort of almost dive in or correct a mistake. And I think that was what happened yesterday. He was involved in all the three areas yesterday for the goals. I think he's made a lot of people say that he's not making so many mistakes this season, but whenever I watch him, he doesn't fill me with any confidence. I've always believed he's not the commanding centre half that we needed. And for 35 million, I don't think. I think we paid way too much for him. I think his positional play, he's got a lot of rash challenges in him. His positional play isn't great, and I don't think he instills any confidence in the players around him. And that yesterday, the way that he gestured to Leno to come and get it was almost like the act of a broken defender, basically, who was sort of like looking to blame someone else for his own shortcomings. And I think Emery came out yesterday and said that he's been consistent. He will always defend his players in public. He has to do that. But I think he'll know in his heart of hearts, and he'll support his players in public. But I think he knows, that Mustafi's a player that I think we need to get rid of. And I think his Arsenal career effectively ended yesterday.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with any of that. I think, knives have been out for Mustafi all season, even last season as well. And this kind of was maybe the nail in the coffin for him. Graham, just before I move on to his thoughts on Mustafi, Karen in the live chat, and a big hello to everyone in the live chat, by the way, says it was great to finally meet you yesterday. So you made Karen's day. And a big hello to everyone in the live chat. Later on, we'll be coming to you guys for some of your questions. What's the download on Mustafi?
Damn him. He's infuriating centre-back because, firstly, one thing I do want to say, with all of our centre-backs, we've touched on this before, I personally think they're all centre-backs that want to hold someone else's hand, all of them. I think they all need a Van Dijk figure alongside them, and I think they would all improve. I don't see any of them as even Koss throughout his career, he's been a fantastic servant and he's a great defender. But his best time at the club come alongside Per Mertesacker, who could command, who could control, who could hold his arm during the game. And you're there, you do that. Just concentrate on doing that. I'm right over here. And it's just the centre-back's a real mismatch. Now, Mustafi, for a large percentage of the game, he defends well. He like Graham says, he's front-footed, he's aggressive. Sometimes that goes against him, but you can't have two defenders who are similar like that. And unfortunately, all of our defenders are like that. So his errors are so fundamental. They're so simplistic. They're so annoying that is why he gets so much stick. I mean, and all the good things he does go unnoticed because of them stupid moments. And they're moments you wouldn't see at Sunday League level. They are incredibly frustrating. I feel a bit for him on the first goal because I actually think that defensively, I think the defence held the line great. And Jenkinson was just fast asleep. And if Jenko is up with the line, then it's very good defending. So a lot of people saying he should be goal side, but he shouldn't because they were playing an offside trap. They were all in line, apart from Jenkinson, who was yards deeper. So with regards to that one, I do feel it wasn't so much his fault. And you can't, once he's gone, you can't react there because realistically, he's a yard ahead of him. You can't get back. It's simple as that. So the second one, infuriating. Like Graham touched on earlier, the two, Elneny and Koscielny, both go for the same ball. Neither of them win it. They both get beat. Once you're in that situation, and it actually, by the way, when you watch it back as well, Kolasinac is also gesturing to Leno, saying, come out, come out. I think the ball was sort of in no man's land, so Leno made the decision to stay on his line. Mustafi's got to be aware. You've got to be aware. Whether you believe your keeper's going to come for that or not, that's fine. But then you react to the situation, and that's unfortunately something that he does not do well enough. He does not react to the scenario he's in, and just to allow Zaha just to walk around him like that was it's just a joke.
I like
really.
one of the comments I read today that he actually stalled like an old tractor for Palace's second goal, which I think summed him up. But you make a great point I think about Cos. I think Cos is more. He's not an organizer, is he? He's more a secondary defender.
I think they all are, mate.
I think the person we missed yesterday was Socrates. The one thing about Socrates does, he organises the defence and he takes responsibility. And he shows leadership, and I think we missed that yesterday. I think Socrates was a massive miss yesterday.
I think the way he plays, though, he's also a secondary defender. I think I agree with you the way he talks and he commands, but he plays like a secondary defender. He's front-footed, he's aggressive. He's always looking to win the ball, to push forward.
Yeah.
Whereas you watch people like Van Dijk and the situation's always under control. They're on the back foot. When they get front-footed, they can get tight, but they often don't need to because they know what they're doing. They're positionally sound. They're aware of what's going on around them. And that's the thing with Mustafi. And yesterday was absolutely shambolic. And actually, for me, the second goal was back. The third goal was the one that just drove me absolutely wild because I ain't got. What was he doing? Honestly, I cannot think where he was going. He's doing the okey cokey. He's in out, shaking it all about. Just left his man. I think he's just so blissfully unaware of what was going on around him. And he's like all of them. He's such a confidence player, but he's shot, mate. He really is so low at the moment, and he can't get any lower. And he was actually defending well. And people will laugh and say, "Oh, he's taking a piss and all this," but he actually was doing well, making tackles, good on the ball, front-footed. He was playing well, and then he has them moments. And unfortunately, at this level, you can't have them moments, and that is going to be the end to his Arsenal career because you cannot continue to accept what is happening with him. As much as I like his style and I like the way he plays, and I do think he'd improve alongside someone more commanding and someone like Van Dijk. I know I keep referring to that. They're 10 a penny at this time, but that's what Arsenal need to bring in. But unfortunately, it can't continue. And he's had his chances. I've backed him enough now, and I can't sit here and genuinely say now that enough's enough. You can't continue to have them errors, mate.
No,
it's heartbreaking to see, mate. But at the end of the day, 35 million, like you said, he commanded that fee because he is a good defender. But he has these moments, and you just cannot. If you can't wash it out of your game by 26, 27 years old as a centre back, you're never going to wash him out of your game. And unfortunately, that is the cut of the mustard between being an Arsenal level centre back and not. And I do think he's a good defender. I do think he's a good centre back, but he will never make it at this elite level that we're supposedly going to be continuing the way he does.
I think it's lapses in concentration, isn't it?
Well, that's it, mate.
He can't stay focused for the entirety of a game, and at this level, you can't do that. And there will be games where we'll have lots of the ball, and our defenders and our goalkeeper need to remain switched on for those moments because those moments can be so key. For me, Mustafi, he's proven time and time again that he's going to have those lapses, and he needs to be, in my opinion, an option, but not a first choice option at the club. I think he has looked okay at times when he's played at right back. I'm not sure that's a long-term thing, but, at Spurs away, I thought he actually played really well, and he was unfortunate to have that penalty given against him because, of course, Kane was offside and all that. But for me, he's just not good enough for this level and not good enough to represent our football club. But people are talking, and a lot of people have been saying to me in the sort of aftermath of this game is that, we got ourselves back into the game and then Mustafi cost us the game. And of course, to an extent, I agree with that. But I also think that shouldn't excuse the way we started the game, and the way we set up was just so, like you guys said, it was so negative. It was so boring. And it's not the first time we've done that this season. We've done it time and time again against teams that realistically we should be playing off the park. And for me, you can't keep getting away with that. It's like if you're Palace, and people were talking about Palace, they're safe, they've got nothing to play for. But Palace would have turned up at the Emirates Stadium yesterday, seen that team sheet and thought, you know what, we've got a real chance here. And that would have galvanized them. That team selection would have galvanized them. And another point I want to make, and I don't know what you guys think about this, is that people keep talking about Ainsley Maitland-Niles and saying, well, he's not a right back. He's not a right back. He's a centre midfielder. Well, if you was going to start Jenkinson yesterday, that was the perfect opportunity to give Ainsley Maitland-Niles a game in the middle of the park. If you're not going to play him then, you're never going to play him. So I don't know what you guys think. Would that not have been a better option? For me, he's certainly more capable than the pair that played in the midfield for us yesterday.
Yeah, well, I 100% agree with you, Harry. I think when you play a 3-4-1-2, like he played yesterday, I think you've got to have players. He's been playing that formation, but with the right players in those positions. And I think a football team's a bit like a car. All the time you got the parts right, the thing goes smoothly. But when you don't have the right parts, or you got the wrong players in the wrong positions, it doesn't run smoothly. We played Jenkinson at right wing back yesterday. Jenkinson's not good enough at this level, we know that, but he's more of a fullback, an overlapping fullback who can throw a cross in. He's not someone who can do the sort of things that Kolasinac or Maitland-Niles could do as a wing back. When you play centre midfield in a two, I mean, you want somebody who's progressive. You want somebody who's going to sit. Somebody who can control the game. Someone like a Xhaka who can pass through the lines. We didn't have that yesterday. And as a result, we had the ridiculous situation in the first half where we had Mustafi carrying the ball forward, gesturing to his midfielders, where are you? I've got no one to pass to. So we had midfielders who basically didn't suit the roles they had yesterday, which we've already touched on. I think he had two choices yesterday. He either went with a 4-2-3-1, which was the obvious formation he could have gone with, or he could have gone with a diamond 4-2. And then he would have every player in the position that suited their ability. He could have played, for example, Maitland-Niles at right wing back with Kolasinac at left wing back, with say Mustafi and Koscielny in the middle, or Mavropanos or Koscielny. I could see him then playing a holding midfielder at the base of a diamond. He could have played Mkhitaryan on the right, Iwobi on the left, and Ozil at the front of a diamond with the two up top. That to me would have been more progressive, with players in the correct positions to actually progress the ball through the lines, get players in positions where we pushed the ball into areas of the pitch where Palace didn't want to be. Palace were very comfortable, as Woz says. The only thing we had going for us yesterday was the ball out to Kolasinac on the left. We were ignoring Jenkinson on the right for most of the game. Ozil was so disconnected, he was having to come back into almost like a central defensive midfield position to actually get the ball and start attacks going. And the moment Palace saw Ozil further away from the goal, the happier they were, of course. The moment he's more forward, when Iwobi comes on to offer structure on one side, we score straight away. So, and that's not coincidence. I think he had two choices yesterday. The players he had didn't suit that formation. The pivot didn't work, as we've said. It didn't work at Everton. It reminded me of the West Ham game. You had the two forwards up top, just totally isolated. As Woz says, if you play two holding midfielders in front of a back three, you haven't got the connections through to Ozil to bring in Lacazette and Aubameyang. Palace did what they wanted to do yesterday, crowded the middle of the park, and we really only had Kolasinac as an outlet on the left-hand side. I would have preferred, if not a 4-2-3-1, a 4-diamond-2. To ask them more questions, Palace. I have to say I was really impressed with Wan-Bissaka yesterday. He looks an outstanding player, and Zaha, I think, looks the best player in a team outside the top six. But we made him look better than he even was yesterday with the way we allowed him to run off Benteke. And I think that sometimes if you set up in that way, as you quite rightly said, as we both touched on, you send messages to the opposition that this is not an intense Arsenal today. This is not an Arsenal that's going to hurt us. And I think it showed up yesterday. And I was worried in that game. That first half was probably the worst first half performance I've seen at the Emirates this season, actually.
Let's talk about Matteo Guendouzi. I think we can all agree that Mohamed Elneny isn't good enough to feature in the first team. He's a squad player, if that, nothing more. But in terms of Guendouzi, now, I've had pelters this season for when I've said that Guendouzi shouldn't play as much as he does. And I always say that, not because I don't think that he can't ever be a good player, but he's 19 years old. He's a bit rash. He's a little bit raw. And for me, he spends far too much time worrying about the ugly side of the game, the getting in people's faces, the arguments with the referee, chasing officials around. I just think if he just focused on his game and his positional sense a little bit more, this guy could progress at a much faster rate than he actually has. Is there a danger that, we've kind of overhyped him in his early Arsenal days, and now we're actually seeing that this kid, yes, he's got potential, but
Seems to have lost the link there.
Hello? Is he there?
Was.
Hello, mate? Hello?
Yeah, what we were waiting for him to come back in there was, I think the thing with Guendouzi is I think he tries to force it too much. That's the thing when I'm watching him sometimes. Positional players, obviously, he's still inexperienced, isn't he? Very young. But I think sometimes he tries to force it too much. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I just think the issue with Guendouzi, and I think it's been the same issue since day one. He's very confident and he does a lot of good things that visually look great, but off the ball, he's well off of the level he needs to be. And whoever he plays alongside, he seems to cause unintentional havoc. If you understand what I'm saying, his position, he does not connect with his midfield partner, and
that's right.
When you've got someone with the level of El Neni next to him, it becomes even more apparent because Guendouzi is then expected to take the mantle, and it's difficult for him. He's a young lad. He's just come from French League 2. He needs time to adapt. He needs time to progress, but he's very frustrating to watch because on the ball he's lovely, and we see it, and he's struggling a bit lately on the ball. It's obviously going to happen. He's going to get tired at later part of the season of his first real full season at this level. So, but just a little fun fact for you yesterday, that midfield pairing, I say it in inverted commas, how many passes do you think they made to each other in 90 minutes?
Less than 10.
Not many.
10. It was 10 passes between them. El Neni completed 2 passes to Matteo Guendouzi in the game. 2 passes. That's your midfield partnership against Crystal Palace at home when we made over 500 and something passes in the game. It's just not, it's not on. It's not, that was what killed us yesterday. There's such a massive disconnect in the middle of that park. Like you said, Mustafi had no outball. The centre-backs had no balls through the lines. Ozil's dropping 20 yards deep. Guendouzi's trying, he's all huff and puff. Both of them, they're all huff and puff, but they're never, ever going to blow your house down. And that's the problem. When you've got Xhaka in there, he sits in there, he's disciplined, he's improved his defensive awareness this season. And he plays aggressive football through the lines. Yes, he makes mistakes. So big, losing in them fielders, and also with the 3 centres, here's the one with the end. It was such a Ozil, and they just haven't got it in them to get in the final third and make that third man run that we've seen a lot of goals come from, especially in that formation. So yeah, it was entirely frustrating. And Guendouzi, he's talented and he's confident and he exudes confidence and he gives everyone that belief. And he's a great little player, but he needs time and people need to ease off him because realistically, like you said, with Xhaka, Ramsey, Torreira, they should be the 3 players between them that are starting week in, week out. And obviously Ramsey's off, so I think we do need to invest in a central midfielder. But I think just ease him in, bring him alongside in a balanced team. We had a mishmash team there, and it's going to be difficult for Guendouzi, but yeah, it's just he needs time.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I'm not for a second suggesting that he's not a good prospect or anything like that. It's just that right now we're Arsenal Football Club and we need to get back in the Champions League. And you're not going to achieve those goals if you're relying on young players, because young players will make mistakes. I've always said this, Graham will tell you, the hardest thing to find in a young player is consistency. And you're going to get weeks where it just doesn't work. And it's not ideal, that he had Mohamed El Neni next to him. But for me, this is not just yesterday. This has been a build-up over a few weeks now where we've probably not seen the best of Guendouzi. Is he maybe a little bit burnt out? I don't know. We'll see. Graham, let's talk about, I know you've touched on sort of Mesut Ozil and his impact once, obviously, the formation changed slightly. But a lot of people have been talking about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's performance. I know he scored a goal again yesterday, but for me, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang seems to fade in and out of games. And every time I want to criticize him, I then look at his goal record and I think I can't. But there's something missing there, isn't there? He doesn't offer quite as much off the ball as Lacazette, in my opinion. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think if you're judging him on yesterday's performance, we already touched on it. He was totally isolated yesterday, up top there was no connections to him and Lacazette. Lacazette was working hard. I think we have to accept that Aubameyang's main contribution to the Arsenal team is his goals, and I think that's just the way he is. I think if you're going to get the best out of Aubameyang, I think we got to think about the way we play to his strengths more. I look at the way that Dortmund used to sort of surround him with pacey wingers. I think he needs somebody around him, a pacey winger, to sort of like create space for him. And he's a player that he can run in beyond. If you do that, it's a fair point you make. He probably is the sort of player who I think we have to accept. He's never going to be the sort of like the player involved in build-up, say like Laka is. Laka is somebody who's a structure, a focal point, somebody who can play as a false nine, someone who can come short, who works hard. Aubameyang has got different qualities, but what he has got, he's got tremendous pace, and he's got an eye for a goal. We saw what he did at Watford, the way he closed down to get the goal, and also, you know, it's all about, I think, using his ability. And at times, maybe we're guilty of not doing that. We were certainly guilty of not doing that yesterday. I don't know what Woz thinks on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Pierre, like you said, Pierre Aubameyang, he is easy for me to say, blimey. He is an elite centre forward, but what he is, he's an out and out striker. He's almost an old fashioned. He should be a penalty box striker, and he runs the channel so well. He's short, sharp movement in behind. He's very difficult to. His speed is electrifying, and we're just not utilising him. I mean, in a 4-2-3-1. It's credit to him that he can go out on the wing and then and get the goal from there and that mazy dribble and things like that. But we all know that that's not the main part of his game. He realistically thrives off of service into the box. And unfortunately, at the moment, we're not playing in any sort of way to give him that service. And we sort of done it to Giroud for years. I mean, that guy, he's 6'4". Just put him in the box, get the deliveries in, get him, and he'll get across the front post and he'll get you goals. So Aubameyang in a way is very similar to that, but he's, like you said, his goal scoring record is elite. It is top level, and no one can argue with the goals he gets. And he will continue to score goals for the rest of his career because that's what kind of player he is. But I think we're so used to seeing centre forwards of late that are, say, more cultured. Maybe someone like Giroud, who with his back to goal, he gets the ball, he moves it on. Lacazette, his short, sharp movements, he gets the ball, lays it off. He's easy on the eye. He's nice to watch. But Aubameyang, he just wants to score goals. And if you could sort of combine Lacazette and Aubameyang together, you nearly have someone like Thierry Henry. So it is you sort of got the two top level players, both who are missing sort of what each other has, if you get what I mean. And sometimes that's with Laka. I really want him to be more goal hungry, to throw himself across that near post more often, to get in them goal scoring positions, because far too often we see crosses flashed across the box and no one's there, and you look up and you think, well, yeah, he's done a great bit of link up play, sort of 15 yards deeper, but then you move on and you get in that box and you want that goal. And we got
he's up to is it 18 or 19 league goals now?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. You can't argue with that. And realistically, people, you could probably say, has he had his greatest season? Probably not. But my God, if you're contributing them numbers, hopefully by the end of the season, he's sort of looking at sort of 23, 24 league goals. I mean, that's good.
And he's going to break the 30 barrier, isn't he? He's going to break the 30 barrier. Yeah.
Exactly. You need a 30 goal a season striker. Whatever happens, you need one of them. Whether he impacts games often or not, it's all about having that one man that can just get you that goal when you need it. And Aubameyang, we look at the amount of chances he's missed this season as well, which is, in one sense, it's very promising. Like major chances, he's getting in them areas. But in the other sense, you think, if he could have converted this, converted that, it could have been a different story. But we've got very good centre forwards at this club.
I think we have to accept with him also is he's going to miss chances. I mean, he gets himself into so many good positions as well that he sort of makes chances that other people wouldn't be in there to have a chance of scoring. So he's going to miss chances. I think was pretty much on the money there. I think he's, without him and Laka, where will we be for goals this season? I think Mickey's got the next highest return, has he? Him and Rambo, but they're single figures, I think. So we're heavily reliant on Aubameyang's goal scoring, and I think that the criticism of him is he misses too many chances, but he's in there. I'd rather have someone in there continually getting to be on the end of things that he gets on the end of, and I'd rather have someone scoring the goals that he does over somebody who offers more to a team but doesn't score goals. I think you need goal scorers in your side, and that's what he is. He's an elite forward with a tremendous goal scoring record wherever he's played, as Woz says.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on, guys. Big thank you to J Rob in the chat for his donation. And thank you to the almost 200 of you that are watching us live at the moment. I'm going to ask the guys one more question, and then we're going to head over to you guys' questions. So start filling up that chat box, and I'll pick out some questions from there in just a moment. This is something I wanted to ask you actually. And we talk a lot about the improvement this season. We talk about the fact that we're in the hunt for a top 4 spot, that we have a real good chance of going all the way in the Europa League. And we've just spoken about the importance of the 2 strikers. In some way, though, have those guys, as their performances this season masked a lot of the sort of problems that we still have in this team? Has their goals been maybe sort of papering over certain cracks in the team? I certainly think so.
Yeah, I mean, we all know it's going to be work in progress, and I do personally think this squad, when you take into account that we've been missing Bellerin, Welbeck, and Holding for the vast majority of this season, despite that, we're still up there, and I do think the squad's a lot better than people give it credit for. I think at times Emery has got it absolutely spot on. He's been incredible, and you watch it and you think, wow, this man is really top level manager. And then you see games like yesterday, and you think, Unai, what are you doing, son? Like, what is going on there? Like, why are we doing this? And it's been a bit up and down like that all season, and I wouldn't say it masks it, because the reason we've got them 2 players is to score bloody good goals, and that's what they do, and that's the level that we should be aspiring to work to. And realistically, when you look at the partnerships that Xhaka and Torreira forged earlier on in the season, and there's a blueprint there for Emery had a way of playing and a structure, and you can see he's very, he goes with a Kolasinac at left wing back, but then sometimes he goes with a 4 at the back, and he always picks Monreal because he's more defensive. And like when he went Monreal Mustafi, because he chose his fullbacks more defensive. He does good things, Emery, but sometimes games like yesterday, and we've played a lot of lesser sides where we haven't enforced ourselves on a game. Games like Barté and Nantes and West Ham and Southampton. There's loads of them. We can reel them off, but that's been the frustrations with me, that we've not sort of at times stood up and said, look, we're Arsenal. We're coming here to play you. Deal with us. It's been more of a case of, we're coming here. I think I'm a bit worried. I'm going to play 3 defenders, 2 holding midfielders. We'll leave our strikers isolated. Games like Graham said earlier, West Ham, Brighton, them sort of games. They're the frustrations where they lie. But then there's been other games where we've been absolutely top draw. We've been unplayable. That first half against Napoli, just ridiculous. We were so front-footed, so aggressive, quick in everything we've done, sharp. We're scoring goals. We're looking exciting, playing great football, and that's there. That's in the squad. So I'm praying, because I do like Unai Emery, I really do, and I want to love him. But then every time I get to love him, something like the weekend happens, and I think it questions me again. But if hopefully he can get in the Champions League this season, he'll go out in the summer. We've got that under our belt. We spend a bit of dough, get a centre back in, and see where it takes us, because he's tactically very flexible. I like a lot of things he does. I dislike a few things he does, but you're going to get that with a manager. He's never going to please you all the time. So if he can cut out them silly little games like yesterday, and like we've had sort of 7 or 8 of them this season, which we look back on and you think, yeah, we could have managed that a bit better and we could have done different. But that's all part and parcel of football. And it's his first season with his squad. It's his first season in English football. And although he carries a lot of frustrations with me, if he can make the Champions League this season, then bravo, hats off, and we go again next year.
I'll just make 2 quick points, Harry. I think one thing he has done this year, he's improved us against the better teams. He seems to be better setting us up against better opposition than he does when we play the likes of Palace and well, for what I know Everton are not a weak side, but when we play the top draw sides, he seems to get his tactics spot on. He seems to be better when he played like Napoli's, the Chelsea, when he went with a diamond at home against Chelsea, when we played Spurs, the way he switched it around with the split strikers, and he seems to have his tactics right against the better sides. But against the weaker sides, for some reason, I think he's been found wanting at times. The West Ham away, as we said, the Southampton away, albeit it was done by injuries, and yesterday against Palace. I think the one thing he has improved this season, watching Arsenal, is that press. I think the press is so much better the way we press from the front with the midfielders as well. It's more of a collective press than it was under Wenger. But I just think that Wenger's teams would have rolled over teams like Palace yesterday, whereas as yet he always talks a lot about balance in his teams, about the balance between attack and defending. And I think sometimes I don't think he trusts our defence, with good reason. Obviously, yesterday you saw why. But I think just one point I will make on yesterday, just in closing, is that midfield pivot we talked about that offered nothing in terms of connection to our front players didn't really protect that back three yesterday very much either, and there was gaping holes where they, as was said, so positionally poor. Albeit it was the mistakes of the defenders that cost us, And but I just think that what he has done this season, he's improved us against the better sides.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't deny that. The results speak for themselves. Right, just to let you guys know as well, Burnley have taken the lead against Chelsea as we're live at the moment. So that could potentially go our way too. Fingers crossed.
Get a jail-free card.
Yeah. You've jinxed it, Harry. I'll tell you.
It's all right, man. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. What can I do? Right, let's go to some of the listener questions. There are so many here, so I apologize if I don't pick yours. I'm literally just scrolling through it at random. Let's have a look here. Right, this one. Bear with me a second. My scroller stopped scrolling. What's going on? All right, we're back. Okay, this one comes from Michael, who says, has Unai Emery put all his eggs in the Europa League basket, in you guys' opinion, based on the team selection yesterday? Graham, has Unai Emery prioritised the Europa League now?
Well, he says he hasn't, but you tend to think on yesterday's selection. I think yesterday's selection was more looking at the Wolves game, to be fair. I think he does see the Europa League as, he's got a great track record in the Europa League, hasn't he? We can't dismiss that. And he knows how to win the Europa League. I think he fancies the Europa League. I think Valencia is his old club. Won't be easy, but I think we're better. We've got better players than Valencia. That doesn't mean necessarily we'll win it, but I think we have. And then Chelsea, he's already demonstrated against Sarri at the Emirates when he played that diamond midfield four and the two up top, how he nullified Chelsea, albeit Sarri helped him by playing Hazard down the middle. I think that he, in answer to your question, I think he still sees both as the option, but I think you can't help but think he might be, with his record of Europa League successes, thinking that Europa League might yet be our best opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Was this one, I'm going to put it to you. I'm going to put two to you, actually. There's one saying, does Was want a job with SBR Media? Who are SBR Media? Hit him up. He might be interested. You never know. Also, this one comes from Karen Russell, Mrs. Same Old Arsenal herself. What three players would be your first ones out of the door in the summer?
Ooh, aggressive. First, Lichtsteiner. Who else would I have go? El Neni, definitely gone. Done and dusted, finished. See you later, son.
Jenko?
Yeah, Jenko, yeah. I mean, yeah. Probably.
And Mustafi.
But yeah, everyone wants Mustafi gone. I get that, and he more than likely will go. But the reality is, whatever centre back stays, we need to spend big on a centre back and get a dominant centre back. And I know their odds come by, but that's it. But yeah, then I suppose there's a fair few that are going to leave the club. So yeah, but I don't want to be horrible to any players apart from really. I think Mo should go. Bless him.
Yep. Fair play. This one comes from Michael Hernandez. Graham, do we have a motivation problem in the team? And I'm assuming he means against sort of the lesser sides, if you want to call them that. But do we have a motivation problem in that field?
I don't think he motivated him yesterday, did he? You have to say that. Possibly yes. I think the answer to this question is yes. I think that when we play the bigger teams, I've noticed at the Emirates this year, we are more intense right from the off at it. When we play the lesser teams, sometimes we're laid back, and it's almost like we just expect to beat these teams. So, I think that's probably. I agree with that. I think sometimes when we play the lesser teams, our record at the Emirates for all that has been really excellent this year. This is the first defeat since August. So, but yeah, I've noticed that we are certainly, when we play the bigger teams at home, we seem to be up for it more. The players seem to be on it, and it's hard to understand why. Maybe Emery doesn't motivate him. I think Lee Judges made a great point yesterday. His team selection was all wrong yesterday, and I think that didn't help yesterday with the players when they came out onto the pitch. But I think there's something in that. I think we are more laid back and not motivated when we play these lesser teams. Maybe the players just expect to beat them comfortably. I don't know.
Graham, you were right. I did jinx it because Chelsea are now in front. And N'Golo Kante and Gonzalo Higuain have put them 2-1 to the good. So I apologise about that. Big thanks to Unique79 for his donation. A Twix and a flake for your little one, Harry. Cheers, mate. I'll probably eat the Twix and the flake myself, though, I'll be honest. Right. I know we've already spoken a little bit about transfers, but that seems to be what most of the questions are coming up about. Here's one to me. Harry, will you go back on AFTV because it was great entertainment? No, mate, I won't be doing that again. Sorry. Okay, in terms of positions, if we could recruit for 3 positions, this one comes from Mustafa. Which 3 positions would you be looking to recruit in first?
Centre-back. I don't care. Even if our whole budget was blown on a centre-back, I'd do it. Literally, that is the biggest fulcrum in this team. I think Monreal could last another season with Kolasinac rotating. I think at right back, we Maitland-Niles can definitely fill in with Bellerin back in there. I think in the centre of the park, Xhaka Torreira, I mean, we're reliant on Guendouzi, so I would like to bring in another central midfielder in there. We've got the 2 centre forwards. Ozil was still going to play. Mkhitaryan. We've got Reece Nelson coming back in there. So realistically, I'm just so desperate, and I think we all are, to see that top draw centre back. And we keep saying how hard they are to find, but I mean, come on, there's guys at this football club that get paid big bucks to identify and bring in that sort of star man. So it was almost like what Liverpool done that season, where they sort of thought to themselves, right, this is what we're going to do here. We're going to go out, and if we don't find an attacking player, that's fine. But we're going to go out and get that centre back. So if it was 3 positions and we could afford and bring them in, I'd bring in a centre back, a centre mid, and an actual chalk on boots wide man.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Out and out wide man. That would be my 3.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Sounds good. This next question comes from Deuce Knight. He says, and I'll put this one to you, Graham. How would you set up against Wolves on Wednesday night?
Cool. Wolves play a back 3, don't they? They play a 3-5-2, do they? So the question he's got then, does he set up with a back 3? Does he match him in formation, or does he go with a back 4? I think it depends who's available. Is Xhaka likely to be fit for that one? I would like to see Xhaka Torreira as a midfield pivot in that one. It's difficult to say from the players. I don't know who's available, where they all are. When we played at the Emirates, we struggled to break them down in a 4-2-3-1 shape, didn't we? I know Woz loves the 4-2-3-1. I'm always a great one sometimes for matching them up in shape, the back 3. But I think we've got to have the right 2, in the middle. It depends who's available, I suppose. It's for me then. I don't know. I'll take was probably go with a 4-2-3-1. I would match him in shape. We play Lacazette, Aubameyang out front. Maybe play that diamond. Ozil at the tip of a diamond. Xhaka at the base. Maybe Torreira on the right, where he's played before. And I would look to play possibly Iwobi on the left. Go with the back 3, maybe match him up in shape. I don't know. What do you think? Was 4-2-3-1?
No, I think I do tend to agree with you there. Like you said, we did struggle at the Emirates in the 4, and I just think Emery sort of he seems to have struggled. When he struggled previously, he seems to have struggled in the return game as well. And I hope he's got a plan for Wolves, because we all know Wolves on their day are unbelievable, and they really are. They put pressure on you. They're very talented footballers. But like you said, I think whoever plays and whatever formation we play, we need that midfield. We desperately need them players back. We please Xhaka Torreira. Whatever else happens around them, Xhaka Torreira. Whether it's Iwobi, Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang, Lacazette. If we go 4-2-3-1, whatever we play, I just really, really, really want to see them two in the middle, because it just makes such a difference to the way we play. We can play out from the back. Torreira's busy. We know what we're doing. And I think that is the most important thing. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he does, because this is where managers earn their bread and butter, because certain games you can look at it and go, yeah, I think it'd be nice if we'd done this, done that. But I mean, really, how do you set up against this Wolves side and go there? And realistically, we have to win, mate. We have to win.
I just think we need to match them in midfield. If they're playing the three at the back and they're playing the two wing backs, that falls back into a four in midfield. I think we're going to need four in midfield. That's why I suggested matching them in formation.
Yeah.
Because I think if we can get hold of that midfield, we did take the game, and in the way that we didn't get hold of the midfield against Palace.
Exactly, mate. I think you're spot on there. And although I do like 4-2-3-1, I think away from home, especially against the side as dangerous as Wolves, like you said, match up, win the battles, win your individual duels, and you win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, just finally, your predictions for Wolves. Graham, how do you see that one going?
Well, it's almost become a must-win game, hasn't it? I think now we can't really afford to lose any more games. I think we really need to win them all, maybe draw one. So I think we have to win it. We have to go for it. And I just think that I'm going to be positive. I think we're going to get the result. I think we'll win it 2-1.
Good stuff. Was your prediction?
3-1 Arsenal.
I'm going to go with 2-1 Arsenal. We're all feeling positive, at least. Fingers crossed that filters through to the team. Guys, that brings us to the end of this episode of the Same Old Arsenal. Massive thank you to every single one of you who's watching us live, who's going to watch this later, who's in the chat box. Apologies to those whose questions I didn't get around to. I'm not as good at this as Craig is, so you'll have to forgive me. Shout out to the judge who's sunning himself and watching us live, I believe. So enjoy the rest of your holiday, mate. And don't forget to subscribe, like, share, do what you got to do. Leave us a review on iTunes. The audio will be up at some point tomorrow, I believe. So we'll keep you posted on that on Twitter. And yeah, take care. Enjoy the rest of your bank holiday. And let's hope that Burnley can pull a couple of goals back at the Bridge.